Boys, let's get this going. It's end of the day. Just doing the stream, do it all at once. Show you what you need in the market. We should be able to get through most of this in about 5 minutes, and maybe I'll look at a couple other things that I find a little bit interesting. So, if you didn't check the other one, you can try to check it today. These will make a little bit more sense to you. You can see where we kind of ended off. What we're talking about yesterday is we finished here. We're interested to see whether we're going to start up above and maybe get a little bit more extra pressure upwards on the VIX, pushing the market down, or we're going to start down here. As we talked about before, there's a couple of bearish possibilities with the price coming down here, mainly being maintaining here, starting here next week, and then pushing up here, which would be the strongest bearish move, which I think easily could equate to a 20% drop or like a 10 to 20% drop on most of these indices. And just to show this real quick, what we can do when we kind of go through here, as we can see, I said this in the last video as well, boom, we start too high. We got to remember where these things, where these places are. This was here. So we hit the tops, ugly start, ugly end, but more importantly, an ugly start, undeterminate, not a lot of strength we're going to get from up here. And then we want to start above both, especially when they're this close. So same thing, we push up, get wrecked down, and then we can see the reversal that we came into. So I don't want to waste too much time into it. Gone over this plenty of times. This looks like a really strong place for bears to find the most, to create the most bearish setup. All bears have to do is really protect the week 500 towards the end of the week, towards Friday. We're what, Wednesday? So Thursday, Friday. So they really just have to protect here. And towards Friday, they really just want to keep it here. Preferably, they'd want to keep it in this area. So if we kind of look at the likelihood, if we are already within this range right here, as we end the week here, it's very likely we could start here, but we're going to start somewhere in a reasonable range, I believe, a little bit more so. If we start here, it gives bulls a more reasonable chance. Market bulls are if we say, like, how do I say? I'm not going to say it in a weird way, so we'll say this. If the price is here, it makes it more reasonable that we'll have a week that can start here as opposed to if we start up here. It just makes common sense because they're going to have to push it down so much more, and they're going to have to push it down through a whole lot of stuff. If we can maintain a price up here, it makes more sense that because we maintain it through the week, that we'd also be able to start in that area. And N doesn't determine the start, but it can be a good indicator for it. So we're pretty much in here. I expect us to move up tomorrow. We did a little bit of fighting. Most of this fighting we could see with Apple on more of the short term. What we're looking for, again, is the same thing that we're looking for last week. We're looking for a 4-hour to start above our 4-hour 200, which is currently at 155.56. We just have to see where it is tomorrow. It only adjusts so much, so it's probably going to be right around 155.56 again anyway. If we can see something like that, we should push up. And then the next goal that the bulls want is and this applies to the market. If you don't get it, just watch the other videos. I'm not going to explain it again. But what we want to see is, and we can expect with the 4-hour here, is we should be able to capture this range and hold towards the top of this range. And then what that gives a great chance for bulls to do is have something start here and push up. This is essentially what I wanted to see last week. If we kind of go here, and we can even see, I don't even know if I can find it, but if we go, let's do this. Let's get out of here. Let's go here. I don't want to waste time. And let's go. I had a stream with this name. So, right, Apple, please start slightly above or equal to 158, please. Thank you. That's what I wanted over here. And what we can kind of see is, no, we didn't start. We started all the way at 159.57, much higher than 158 or slightly above 158. And what happened? We had bad buying, huge gap that didn't want to come down. Idiots wanted to push it up. That's fine. It's their fault. And then we just came back down. So fine, I got my position at the top. I did whatever I did. But the point is we still are in this kind of trend. We can easily still hold this, and we can easily still get back into this range. I don't think the CPI pushed us down as much, or was as important as people thought it was. I think a lot of this was just bad buying. If we go look over at the NASDAQ, we can see some other similar things, especially with the NASDAQ. Gap, SPY, gap. Why are we doing such stupid buying? So everyone that lost money honestly deserved to lose money, and I'm not angry at them or whatever. They do what they do. I'll keep doing what I do. But we can kind of see how this bad buying doesn't get anybody anywhere. Maybe in the short term for some of these things, but when we look at these bigger moves as opposed to just like that part of it, or that impulse wave, or whichever way we want to look at it, we can see that it's just bad and things have a higher chance of crumbling. So we can see from here is now we're building back up the same kind of thing pretty much we had last week, right? This started 1 cent above. This adjusts, so it looks like it started on it. It's whatever, but this started at 155, I think 155.58. I think the line was at like 1 or 48, and I think the line started at 155.47. Anyway, we see this, boom. We've been waiting all week for it, and then boom, boom, boom. But we went too quickly, so now essentially we're just literally doing the same exact thing that we wanted to do last week. And then boom. So like I said, how's that calculate? Apple's the easiest way that I figured this stuff out for most of these things. Like I said, if you don't understand it, either just watch somebody else or watch the other videos if you do find it interesting. How you can usually just look at Apple to get an idea about the whole market instead of having to look at indices and feeling like you're getting dragged around everywhere with no idea what's going on. So now that we kind of see that and we see what the VIX is, we should expect to continue to move up tomorrow. I expect it to continue to move up because it seems very unlikely that we're going to be able to attack these places again. I'm essentially what I said. I look at Apple for a lot of this, so I'm not looking at the VIX to kind of determine what's going on now. I'm looking at Apple. I want to see Apple start above here on the 4-hour. If we start in this range, it's the same thing when we had here. If we start in this, if we don't start above and we still start in the range, then we'll just work our way through the range. You know, so it's the same thing. If we have to work our way through the range, we'll work our way through the range. We have a 4-hour right under here. And if we start the day under here, I think we're highly going to most likely going to be pushing down. So for me, this is what I'm looking at. And then we can also see on the week here, we also could have this. So if we can't keep this kind of in the middle trend, we're going to go from week to week. And if we look here, we can see where this is just to show it one last time. This is a representation of where it is. And if we kind of see on the short term, we can see it's already been hit. So if we go to extended hours, we can see here real quick. You can see where we hit. This is where I took my put position on Apple. I think it was like 4 put positions, whatever. And then we can see how we pushed up. So we see after hours push up. We can see in pre-market, boom, 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 sell down, boom, 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 bam. So we've already essentially hit the top of the week. So we'll see what happens. I don't really know what the point of me even mentioning that is, but just like on the come down, I guess I just wanted to show that we did hit the top of the week, I guess, in a sense. So that's kind of adds to a lot of the pressure that we have coming down. Doesn't mean we can't recapture it. Doesn't mean we can't regain it. There's a lot of people that bought at the top too, which I think personally means we should be able to, recapture some of the price that we lost. So I'm really just looking to see where we start on this, and that's pretty much one of the big things. So let's kind of go over to Bitcoin real quick and let's get through that. So pretty much on Bitcoin, what we're looking for is we can see on the 4-hour, well, let's go to the day time frame. Let's go from where we were. So yesterday, you could see we ended under. I don't care where we ended. We started above. So I think this gave us a decent chance. We pushed off here. You can't see it. If you go to the short time frame, you'll see that we pushed. We came like 30 bucks under. And then we started pushing up. So where did we hit? We came up to the 4 right here. And then when on the extension, we came up to the 2. And then you can see we came around here and we're just locked in here looking for direction from the market. We didn't have that 4-hour start on Apple. So we didn't have that direction for the market to push us up more on Bitcoin. So when we had on Apple over here on the 4-hour, we had ugly buying. But once we could see that we weren't going to start above, and we saw that we came up here, I can show it on the 15 and we can look at this in a sense. So if our goal here essentially is to start above, when we hit 130, we're not going to start above on the 4-hour. We've already spent the first part of the day coming down, hitting the 4 under us, or hitting one of the 4-hour holes under us. We already hit the top. We didn't want to hit up here. So we've already spent half the day up here. So now that we know we're not going to end up here, you're not going to see any more bulls come in. What does that mean? Obviously bearishness. What do bulls want? They want the price to be at the bottom. And because it just makes sense, the more the price stays up here, the easier it is to turn it around and make this even more top heavy and make this look more bearish. So what do bulls want? They want it to come down. What do bears want? They just want the price to come down probably anyway. The smarter bear would have wanted the price to stay up here, and then they would have wanted to shift it under, knowing that we can make this top heavy and a little sketchy. I think all in all, most bears and bulls wanted this both to be here. Just from the one perspective of if we do leave it up here too long, it does become pretty top heavy and you do need to create a bad candle structure here or a pattern. But it does still kind of give bulls a little bit of a second hope of, okay, we are right at our target. But overall, I still think it's a little bit worse just because we're very top heavy here. And I think anything extending here would ultimately just pretty much get sold down because of where we spent most of the day. So let's go over to Bitcoin real quick. Let's go to that. And like I was saying, with that 4-hour, we can note on Bitcoin where it fell down, and it's pretty much we can see right around there. So we see we have 330 here. And then, so this is what, 3 o'clock, 3:30, and then we see a lot of bearishness on that next 30-minute. Boom, it just collapses down. That's when we saw stuff come down, because we're looking at Apple's an easy determinant for Bitcoin, easy determinant for the market, easy determinant for most things on a macro level. Much better than ETFs, much better than the indices. Though I will look at the indices from time to time also and see what they're doing to try to get a little bit more of an in-depth idea. So point is we had that happen. We pushed down into the 4. What do we want to see? We don't want to see the same thing for a hard short. We don't want to see, let's just extend this. We don't want to see this end under in a place where we're going to have this come down. So at this point, we're going to have to see where it is. But just to guess, I would say I think this is like 120. Let me see what this changes. So it's 120. So we don't want to see it end. We want to see it end at or slightly above, even $100 above 19,000, I believe 19,975. So 19,975. So like somewhere right around here, pretty much. It's whatever. The easiest way is just to have the line and look at it. If you don't have the line, it's whatever. Then this is no use to you. So anyway, if we do manage to hold somewhere around 20,000, a little bit around this area, we will have the same thing here where we start above. It doesn't look like a strong short, and we should push back up. How much, who knows? But a lot of this just really goes with the market. Bitcoin, at the end of the day, just wants to see the direction the market takes to get an idea of where it should take, and it uses the direction of the market or the overall sentiment to kind of then move with its own TA. So Bitcoin is like, the market determines the direction of Bitcoin. Bitcoin's own TA determines how much it moves in a certain direction, as we can see. So we saw a push up, but we got rejected at the other 2 time frames here. We didn't see the extra bullishness that we needed to from the market because we didn't get that 4-hour start above on Apple. And that explains why we came down a little bit and why we bounced here, because we had the 4 hours. So all the bulls really want to do, there's no reason to push this up as a bull. There's zero reason. All a bull wants to do is just maintain around like 20,000. They just want to maintain around like 20,000, or maybe like 20,000, 25, 20,000, 50. That's their only job right now. It's not to buy this up like crazy. It's not to whatever. It's just maintain before the day ends 20,000, 20,000, 25, 20,000, 50. I mean, it could even be all the way at 20,100. Anything starting here is fine. It doesn't have to be in this small range. Anything here is fine also as well. A lot of it goes off the market. The biggest thing is just it reaching stability so that it cannot collapse before we get more direction from the market. And this is something that can turn around. So we didn't have great legs pushing up here. I call this easy. What I wanted to see here was pushing up here. So it's no surprise that we came down. We have this huge trend line. And if we can kind of even out here, this does have a chance. My big bullish place for Bitcoin is around here next week. So I do have a lot of hopes for Bitcoin if it can get there. I think this is a really tough spot to get to, but I have a lot of hopes for it, and I think this is a pretty good spot. And then farther on, I think if we want to see 100K, I think if we can get here by November 3rd, anywhere in this range, October 21st to like November 11th, we'll see. I think 100K is easy in the bag. I really do. I don't think it's that hard, that difficult. Now we'll see, and I think getting up here is hard, but that's why I feel so strong about those points, because I don't really think it's going to get to those points whatsoever at all. At the end of the day, I think we're still probably moving around. We're still chucking this channel. We had a whole bunch of top buying here. Our bottom of our channel is around 10 to 11K moving up at this rate. So if we were to drop today, just assuming we'd bounce probably somewhere around like 10,900 to 11,100. So it doesn't look good. I don't want anyone to be like, oh, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to hear it. I don't think it really looks good. I'm just saying these are really hard to obtain targets. So it's like, it's just like one of those things. People generally make assumptions when they see things because, there's certain level of reasonability when you see things like, for this, the Bitcoin won't just get here. So if it can get here, something good must have happened. Something nice must be developing, and that's generally the main kind of understanding for that. What else do I want to go into? Is there anything else? We went over Apple, we went over the VIX, we went over Bitcoin. I don't really care about the indices. I already went over Apple, so the indices, it doesn't matter. Maybe when we move away from Apple, I'll look back at the indices. But right now, it just doesn't seem to be anything of any importance. We can check this. This is one thing I actually think is somewhat interesting. So we did bounce. I would have liked to have seen it here, but it's not a big deal. We got the bounce here for Ethereum to Bitcoin. We do have it, what, tomorrow? So tomorrow we do have the merge. I would be really interested. So a couple interesting things for Ethereum here, and I think we could see some big stuff. So looking at Ethereum on the day, just to kind of get into this, one of the big issues that we had over here is we have left, left, head, right, right. And so what we can kind of see here is that with this top on the left here, this actually was under it. So what they actually did with this push up is they invalidated this left side. We got this nice push up here. So with this kind of invalidation, I could see something possibly maybe continuing up or shooting up. What I would really like to see, of course, it's always to me maybe Apple in the market and the direction that it's taking, because we're not gonna see crypto really go against the market. But an interesting thing is we got a nice bounce where I'd like to see, if we want to see these trend lines, this is just this here, and we have something going through a decent amount of this here. I like to take the averages as opposed to the extremes with my trend lines. So a couple interesting things on Ethereum to Bitcoin where we could see something from here, which I think is fairly interesting, is if we can get back up and start a day above here. I think this looks pretty good for the day. But also at the same respect, we also had a week that started above here. So I think with this nice come down on the week, as we push up, if we can get support pushing up, we can see something pretty crazy. So maybe with this merger, this is something that we could possibly see. And this is, we start to get into some pretty big percentages. So maybe we could see 15, 24 or higher percent from Ethereum. I think this is a great place to try to push off. We can see what it's done in these other places. It's respected it fairly well. So I think for what it is, it's pretty decent. Um, so I think on the week time frame, we have a pretty decent chance to shoot up if we can push through. Of course, what I would like to see here, though, is I'd like to see on the short term a day come above here and start somewhere in this range. And I think that looks pretty nice to shoot up, especially from this strong bounce right there. So that's what I think. That's one of the best ones I think right now, of a possibility of something like just happening. I mean, I think we looked at Cake to USDT earlier, and that looked pretty decent also as well. But that also has some things that it has to beat. So I'm not really going to go over this one because it looks like it has some things to beat. So I guess I'll just say Cake real quick. Long story short, if we can see a 4-hour start above 4.246, I would be really forward to looking for it. Another thing you could do is also just put an alert right there. And then what you could look for, the 2-hour 200s up here. And then if we can get from something to here, we should push up on quite a big ride up. And then the next place is up here, which I think is about a 33% gain from the second launch point, close to it. So those are kind of the most interesting ones, just to go over the market, go over Apple, like the main market really in the direction that we take, and how we look at that. Kind of went over today what we want to see tomorrow, what I would expect to see from Bitcoin if I wanted to see it go up. And like I said, this is all in the interim. This is just stuff. Once the market opens, I don't really care necessarily what Bitcoin looks like as much, until I know what the direction of the market looks like. And then only then do I care about what Bitcoin looks like. And the same thing for any altcoins. It's always the same thing. I need to know what Apple looks like to really determine. I don't want to know what the Apple looks like and the VIX looks like. And if I can't get direction from Apple, I'll look to the VIX and I'll look to the indices. And once I get a direction of what's going on from there, we're going to go and then we're going to look at Bitcoin. Once we have an idea of the direction of Bitcoin, we're going to look at the USDT pair for that altcoin. Once we have an idea of that and what that might possibly do, we want to look at possibilities to Bitcoin, because of course we don't really want to be in an altcoin if Bitcoin's just going to shoot up and all those other things for that. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for staying tuned, guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I stream every day at 9:15 for the whole market day. We're right consistently all the time. More people that come in, the better. If you just want to lurk, that's fine. I always appreciate lurkers coming in and saying hi every now and then. Let me know you're in here. It's always really cool. I get lonely a little bit too. Not really, but a little bit too. So always, spread the love. I love you guys. Thanks for coming in, all that. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care.